Cooler in the background. We're going to tag Paul on that.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I got an email from somebody the other day that's at.
We're broadcasting, just so you know.
Okay. All
Be
right.
careful.
Word.
I'm just trying to protect you. I hit the broadcast button.
I appreciate
So once I hit that button, you got to watch what you say. I'm just trying to protect you, brother. Just trying to protect you.
You'd always need
And
that.
I just need one more page. Oh, yeah, we're already coming across a few of them. And oh, yeah, now I'm getting excited. Now I'm getting excited. And we are back. Here I am, flying Navarro with the No BS World Tour. I'm sitting here. Oh, man, I got people talking all over the place. I need to shut off that TV. I got too many screens running. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I got Captain Patrick Price. I got Captain Thomas Osborne. What is going on, gentlemen?
What's happening?
What's happening, guys?
How we doing today?
Ready for Shark Week. Let's talk.
Let's talk Shark Week. I see Corey from Oregon has already joined us. I see Kim all the way from Australia has joined us. I'm sure Kim has got a couple shark stories from Australia.
I'll bet he does.
So while I start sharing all this stuff, wow, we got 25 people on the Sportsman's Classified. While we share everything and you guys start telling everybody where you're at, everybody that's watching right now, why don't you let us know where you're at so we know exactly what we're going to be talking about from your neck of the woods. I see Oliver Taylor all the way from the UK joining in. So Captain Pat, why don't you tell everybody where you are from? And I don't know why my screen's jumping all around, but we're doing good. We're broadcasting live. Captain Pat, tell everybody where you're from, who you are, what boat you run, the whole 9 yards.
Yes, sir. So I'm a native to Stuart, Florida, on the East Coast here. Been fishing professionally for 26 years. Started my own business, charter fishing 11 years ago, and been having a exponentially increasing problem with sharks the last 3 or 4 years. And I think that sentiment's been shared up and down the coast with peers in the industry, both commercial, recreational, sport fishermen. And we started a little initiative a month ago trying to raise awareness of the problem. And we're hoping to create some change so we're not losing money and losing all of our catches to what seems to be an imbalance in the ecosystem.
There you go. Now, Captain Thomas, tell us a little bit about you.
My name's Captain Thomas Osborne. I'm a South Florida native from West Palm Beach. I'm a commercial fisherman, commercial longliner. I've fished up and down the east coast of Florida, all throughout the Gulf of Mexico, with my target species for the last 20 years being sharks in general. I fish out of Fort Pierce now. The boat I run is called Day Boat 3. And I just chase the sharks everywhere I can, trying to listen to sport fishermen, commercial fishermen, and try to help solve a little bit of the problem for everybody. I'm one of the last full-time shark boats left because of regulations. And I just do my best to listen to everybody's calls and try to help out.
All right.
And make a few dollars in the process.
And there's nothing wrong with making a couple of bucks. There's nothing wrong with making a couple of bucks. So this is just so I can let everybody know what we're talking about tonight. Tonight we're talking about shark fishing and the people that fish here off the coast of Florida. There's been a lot of shark interactions with people out there making a living, fishing for a living, whether it be commercial fishermen, whether it be charter fishermen, recreational fishermen. There's a lot of shark interaction going on. And Pat, you and Captain Doug started a Facebook page to bring this problem up to everybody's attention. So, so tell us a little bit about what you guys started and what the basic goal is.
So, I mean, the basic goal, the initiative of the page was to create awareness to not only the general public that maybe has a misinterpretation of the shark population or what's going on, but also to bring attention to the federal agencies that manage the shark species. Um, there's what I've learned in the last month, and kudos to everybody that's been working on this long before I got involved. There's a tremendous effort and recognition going on, specifically on the commercial side, to an overabundance or a misrepresentation of the population of the sharks, and the quotas that can be filled. I know there's a big push for it. They're fighting environmentalists and stuff. We created a page. I created a page specifically after having a conversation with a guy for an hour from Harbor Branch, that I've not heard back from in 6 weeks since we had our first conversation. But here we are. I wanted to create a page to try to help raise awareness to what's going on. The amount of fish that we're losing just with our business, with my business, is concerning. I feel like some of the species, possibly are not sustainable to that interaction, times the number of boats and the people that I talk to and what I just visually see and experience myself to shark depredation. We have a huge population of nuisance sharks, the two species that are the biggest problem here where I fish, and that I had a wintertime experience with further south, Jupiter Inlet down past Boynton, would be bull sharks and sandbar sharks. And, we're losing an astronomical number of fish, more so than we've ever lost anywhere worldwide in 26 years of fishing. And we get these comments. Oh, well, you're fishing in their environment. You're stupid. Fish is going to eat what you're catching, especially a shark. I get it. It's cool once or twice in a week or something like that. But when it's 10, 20, 30 times a day, and we're moving miles and miles and miles throughout the course of the day to try to avoid them, that tells me there's an imbalance in the ecosystem. There's a tremendous team behind this effort. Fly, you involved, Thomas, representatives of the commercial and recreational sector, conservation groups that are the behind scenes, and speaking a voice, for somehow, I guess with the creation of the page, we're kind of at the forefront and happy to learn as much as I can about this. To not only make me a better conservationist and a fisherman, because I think we all are conservation minded in the industry, whether we're recreational fishermen or commercial fishermen, we have to protect our resources. But the fact that there seems to be a huge imbalance, we need to move forward with some emergency regulation about this, to not only make me a better conservationist and a fisherman, because I think we all are conservation.
I'm listening to you come across some live page, and I can't figure out where it's coming. Oh, there it is. I just had to mute you. I bet you your wife wished she had a button for that.
I know mine does.
Don't get me started. I'm hard to shut up.
So first of all, let me throw out. There's a couple people joining up in here. I got to say a couple things. Corey, I haven't forgotten about you, but I haven't gotten there. Corey has been catching fall Chinook on the Oregon coast for a month or so. He also said something about some sharks. Where is it? From Coos Bay in Oregon. People are chiming in here so fast. I just want to grab a couple of people. Aaron File, they only deal with salmon sharks up there in Alaska. Dave on the Loxahatchee River right now fishing for snook. I like the fact that people are taking their time off while they're fishing to watch live. That's a cool thing.
That's how important of a problem this is. I mean,
exactly. Exactly.
Everybody's tired of it.
It's a big deal. Brooke Holcomb, she says hello. Ben Barwick says he loves the work you're doing down here, Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Brooke also says, good job. I see Cody has joined in here. Richard Marney, in Stewart, sometimes more than half the fish you release get chomped within seconds of letting go. I see Jimmy O'Neill. And mind you, we're running across like 5 different pages right now. Dominic Lacombe Jr., he's saying way too many screens. He knows how many screens I'm running on here. And let's see, I want to make sure if anybody is talking on the Shark page, I don't see any questions there. So let continue now that we got on here. I see somebody, who was it? James Lagrone. Dave, now this is going to be some good no BS episode. Thank you, David. Just past the Hammerhead here in Cabo. They're everywhere, guys. Okay, so, oh, wait a second. Timmy Day, we fish Oregon Inlet, where everybody knows about that problem up here. Up in Shinnecock, we are starting to see the sharks eating tunas inshore. So, again, we got people jumping in. Ask your questions. We'll pass them out. Now, Tom, you say you primarily, whoa, wait a second. This is the No BS World Tour. We do not talk politics, but Chad Miner says Thomas Osborne for president.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
Okay, so that's where we're going to start it and end political talk. That's where this No BS World Tour started. Gave everybody a place to talk about fishing, our fishing problems, solutions, or just good old-fashioned talking. So, Tom, how long have you been shark fishing for a living?
I've been shark fishing for a living most of my adult life. I started when I was about 14 pulling gill nets, and started on a longline boat when I was 17 years old. My first trip longline ever was shark fishing. I knew that first trip that I was meant to be a shark fisherman the rest of my life. I love to fish. I love them fish indefinitely. I love everything about them.
Can we call you this generation's Frank Mundus?
Quite possibly.
I mean, I want you to know I'm going way.
Big shoes to fill.
That's a big pill right there. Those are big shoes.
Those are big shoes to fill.
Those are big shoes to fill. And for some of you young folks that don't know who Frank Mundus is, Frank Mundus was the character of Quint in the movie Jaws.
That's right.
I see my man Randy Yates has joined in here. He's saying Shark Man.
As growing up, I watched some of the guys back in the the late 80s, early 90s, some of the guys that were hard at shark fishing back in the day. And I remember sitting on the dock watching these guys unload and thinking, man, I want to be able to fish like those guys one day. I want to be able to do that. I just want to be able. Some of them guys were my superheroes as kids. I didn't like Superman. I like these guys that were unloading boatloads of sharks. And to stand back today and these same gentlemen who are obviously well into their elder years and retired from fishing walk up to me and say, man, it's a good thing that you weren't fishing back then with us, because you would have been even better than us. It's quite a compliment from these guys, just to get everything and hear everything and just the positive support from everybody around. I've been trying to bring awareness to this problem, not to this issue with sharks, for the last 5 or 6 years, because I personally have seen just an explosion in population. And it's right down to the black tip sharks on the beach. Even when they shut down gill netting years ago, the black tips exploded in population. And then surf fishermen up and down the east coast are just complaining about losing all their beach fish too. It's not just offshore. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
I'll tell you what, one of the things that I'm more impressed with is that one, your ability, what I've learned with how you drive a school of fish with where you drop heads and do stuff like that, I think it's pretty cool with what you're talking about. But the reality of the situation, and I think this is kudos to your fishing ability, but this is also shows the problem, is you're able to catch and deck load in Stewart, in Fort Pierce, in Sebastian,
Yep.
in Jupiter. If your gear doesn't
Yep.
get cut apart, you can
Everywhere.
go anywhere you fish
Everywhere.
with this permit. You can max your holdout and load the deck and come home.
Yep.
And that tells
Yep.
me, a lot like our red snapper stock, it's in pretty good shape. I mean, I just
and that's fishing minimal gear.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's literally only fishing 150 hook set, 3 sets at 150 hooks, and I'm topped off. 8,000 pounds dressed.
So
in each spot, that adds up to a lot of fish.
let me stop you guys 1 second because somebody has a very good question here. Chris Kelly says, educate me. What is the market for sharks?
The market is back historically. The market has been let me restart. When the U.S. government pushed shark fishing on commercial fishermen as an underutilized resource, there was a huge fin market. The market was just starting to build itself for meat. Sharks are very desirable food fish if it's handled properly. Back in the days, they got upwards of $35 a pound for fins and between 30 and 50 cents a pound for the meat. When environmentalists got involved towards the end of the 90s, when they shut sandbars down, the smear campaigns had pretty much taken everything away. There was still a small market for fins. The meat market, I have personally rebuilt the meat market over the last 6 or 7 years for large coastal sharks. We get upwards of $1.25 a pound now for the meat. The price of the fins, we do obviously sell the fins because it's a sellable product, and we try to use every part of the fish we can. But we get around $20 a pound for the fins and between $1 and $1.50 for the meat, depending on the size of the shark. It averages out right around $2 a pound.
So there is a market.
There's a very good market. There's a very, very good market. The trouble is finding a fish house that'll deal with them and finding commercial fishermen that want to deal with the regulations we're faced with for producing the fish. From water to scale, we have to handle the fish 3 times before you can actually land on the scale and we get paid for them.
And
okay,
part of the process you can't do till you hit the dock, right? Which is a pain in the ass. Right.
So when you say you handle it 3, when you say you handle it 3 times, please, for the people that aren't familiar with it, describe that. What are the 3 times you got to handle it?
When the first time handling them is bringing them on the boat. We have to catch the fish. Obviously, we bait out, we land the fish. We have to boat the fish. I dispatch the fish by breaking their spines. We don't shoot them. We very humanely put them out of their existence, just so they don't feel pain, so they're not mistreated. At that point, we then head them and gut them. And we're not allowed to remove fins or anything offshore. Everything has to be naturally attached for identification purposes at the dock. And also, just so a fish house will handle our fish. Then they go in the ice hole from there. When we land them on the dock, we have to take the fish off the boat and finish butchering them on the dock, which consists of removing the fins and then trimming belly flaps and knuckles off. And then they make it to the scale. So literally we have to handle the fish at least 3 or 4 times before it even makes it to the scale. With most other commercial fishing industries, you gut them and throw them on a scale. I mean, it's pretty simple, cut and dry offshore. And that's why it's so hard to find guys that want to shark fish. And then on top of that, the fish houses on land, it's hard to find a fish house that'll deal with them because of regulations imposed because of the whole finning thing. The whole finning thing takes place in other parts of the world. There's no doubt, but the U.S. based shark fishermen, we are the most regulated fishery in the world. And nobody wants to deal with it. And and I've stood in court. I've stood in HMS meetings, and I've just said, I'm going to adapt and overcome. They try to regulate us out through environmental causes, not conservationist, environmental eco-terrorists is what I call them. They want us to stop. There's nothing wrong with a sustainable harvest of sharks. And obviously it's blown out of control right now.
Now, hold on. I have one last question. Then I want to jump to you really quick, Pat. Thomas, the meat itself,
yep.
What is it used for? You sell it as meat, but give us.
They fillet and they sell it as shark. Shark is actually delicious. We bleed the shark as soon as he comes on the boat. We gut him as soon as he's not even done breathing. We pull his kidneys out. There's a big theory that sharks, they defecate through their skin. They urinate through their skin. They pass their blood through their urine passes through their blood and through their backbone. As soon as we get a shark on the boat, we strip their kidneys out and he's clean. We put him right on a slush brine. The meat is delicious. There are some sharks that are not desirable food fish, such as hammerheads, tiger sharks, nurse sharks. There's several that are just not desirable food fish at all. When a shark is filleted, it's sold as shark meat. It's not flaky like a grouper or a snapper, nothing like that. It has more of the consistency of a pork chop, like kind of grainy, but it's delicious. It's delicious.
Okay. Kim from Australia says they sell them as fish and chips down in Australia, and it's very popular. Shark and chips.
Absolutely.
All right. Now,
a lot of our product goes to Canada. A lot of our product goes to Canada. Canadians love it.
Well, it's actually the next person in here. When I was doing it, the meat went to Canada and Mexico. They love it. It is what our buyers told us. So somebody just replied right there. Now, Patrick, the reason you started this campaign to inform the people is the interaction as a well, you're not a recreational fisherman, but you are taking people out recreational fishing on your charter boat, and the interactions that you're having where these people are paying money for you to take them out fishing, to have a good day of fishing and provide some food for the table. The interactions that you're having with these sharks are increasing exponentially day by day and year by year. Could you please let everybody know when we say an interaction, explain what these interactions are for the people that have either never been out on a boat or have never had this happen to them?
Sure. So I think there's a variety of interactions that occur. And I'm going to be the first one to say here, which I did on the page, that 4 years ago, we thought it was cool to hang a carcass over the side to attract bull sharks to catch cobias. And it was cool for the first couple of years. And those interactions were unique because people got to see a shark in their natural environment, swimming around the boat, a giant creature. There was fish that they could catch that they could eat off the back of it, and we didn't lose those fish. As years progressed, more people caught on to the chumming thing, and areas that people naturally did this during cobia season, the shark attitude changed, right? The number of sharks increased, the number of cobias decreased, and so then exponentially your fish to catch ratio went down in a very negative way. We have great interactions kite fishing. I could go for 2 weeks trolling here in Stewart and never see a hammerhead. And the first day I put kites out and put baits out, a hammerhead's going to come tool around and chase the kite bait around. They don't eat what we're catching. They'll eat the bait. People will love catching them and enjoying it. Conversely, the problem that we're having now with bull sharks and sandbars that's exponentially increased over the last couple of years, you have people that come in that are spending up and down the coast from North Carolina to the Keys, 10 grand, hotel rooms, airline tickets, going to restaurants, charter fishing for a couple days, and all their prize catches, whether they're sailfish or meat fish of a variety of kinds, kingfish, wahoo, tuna, grouper, snapper, amberjack, are getting eaten exponentially. That's a huge negative impact, not only financially to the area and the local economy. Are those people ever going to come back again? Are they going to go charter somewhere else? And the same thing with the commercial fishermen. Lost revenue, lost tackle. It's a huge impact. The recreational impact, I personally feel like there's probably a big education that needs to go on. I see it. We lose a few fish, we're going to move. Commercial guys lose some fish, they're going to move. And I think we're, spending 250 plus days a year on the water. A lot of us have tried to adapt techniques that will allow our fish to get away from sharks that won't necessarily be adapted by a guy that fishes once or twice a month. And you have we've said this story a few times where we know people and friends that have gone out and they've anchored up and they're on the best snapper bite of their life with their wife and their kids, and they lose 15 fish to catch 3 to sharks, but they never moved. So what we've heard talking to Carol and talking to other people, we get a lot of pushback from HMS in these letters and stuff that we're talking about right now, that it's an isolated incident. It's a big thing that Art says when we talk about it. He hears it's an isolated incident. It's not an isolated incident when I can go fish from 30 foot of water to 300 foot of water, 10 miles north or 10 miles south of my inlet, and I can have fish lost in every spot in 30 spots on a single day. That's a problem. It's not an isolated incident. You can compound that up and down the coast from the Keys to North Carolina. Social media has been very powerful in people sharing their experiences and networking. A lot of the stuff that we see is very negative, I think, in the overall scheme of our world. But the reality of it is, and what we need to get these scientists and these council members to realize, like Art says, is they're citizen science. You got these people out there 200 plus days a year, commercial, recreational, charter fishermen, and they've got phones, GoPros when they're diving, and they're losing everything. And the sharks have changed their attitude. They're coming at the divers, the spear fishermen, with a great aggression. Even when they don't spear a fish, these guys are getting charged. The attitudes have changed of the creatures, and it needs to be looked at and addressed. And I think awareness is the first step, and that was the part of the page. It's obviously snowballed tremendously, hopefully in a good direction, thanks to the effort of 30 people that are helping lead the charge here, yourself included and Thomas included. And hopefully we can find a way to open the eyes to some emergency decisions made by the people that are in charge.
And while you're saying that, let me bring out a couple of things. Number one, the name of the page is Sportsmen's Fighting for Marine Balance. That's the name of the page right now.
Correct.
And the reason why I say that is I want people to be able to find the page.
Correct.
But what the other thing I want, and there's been some controversies with that, and I'm not trying to get into that. I want people to be able to find the page when they're listening to this.
That's the most important thing.
I want people to be able to find the page. Number one, because it's awareness. But number two, we've got a lot of people watching right now. And if I could, wherever you're watching this, if you could just hit that share button, because that's how we're going to get this word out and let people know what's going on here. So wherever you're watching this right now, whether it's on Sportsmen's Fighting for Marine Balance, whether it's on Fly Navarro, whether it's on Sport Fishing page, whether it's my personal page, hit that share button. Thank you, Cody. I just saw Cody hit it. I get notified. David Sosa, thank you so much. Everybody, please just hit that share button. Let everybody know what's going on. Just want to get the information out there. And one thing I want people to know, you guys aren't trying to go out there and wipe out the sharks. You guys are just trying. You guys are just trying. You guys are just trying to put out the information of what is going on out there.
Yep.
What is going on out there?
I think the biggest misconception, I've seen it a bunch on our page, and people have asked the question, I've dealt with it with my family, and people I've known for a long time, and they go, Pat, we just watched Shark Week. How, they say that the sharks are decimated, blah, blah, blah. I can't agree more that worldwide there's probably an issue. What I will say is, in the most highly regulated shark fishery that there is in the world, and the most protected areas being the United States, specifically the Southeast Atlantic and the Gulf, there is a big problem right now, and it needs to be addressed. I was told by one of the members on the council the other day in a lengthy conversation, we have grossly underestimated the population of sharks in the South Atlantic. So there's acknowledgement. It's on the agenda, which I think is a great step. I feel like it's a good step, but you have a conversation one day and it's very uplifting, Fly, and then you have a conversation or get an email the next day and you feel like, why is it even worth going on? Depending on who you talk to that day. So I think awareness is the biggest thing. I mean, like we all look. I didn't watch Shark Week or whatever, but I hear all the comments and the people. The reality is there's a huge problem in the Atlantic from people that have spent on our page just alone millions of hours on the water. And they're all in agreement on many different sectors, all genres of fishing: spearfishing, commercial wreck, commercial fishing, rod and reel, commercial recreational fishing, sport fishing. Everybody's in agreement. Look, there's a huge problem, and there are only so many species that their natural predator in their environment is a sandbar or bull shark. I mean, they're not supposed to be able to catch a sailfish. They're not supposed to be able to catch, if they're in a healthy state, they're not supposed to be able to catch them. And I go, well, people say, well, you fought a fish for 30 or 40 minutes. Yes, I can agree that could be a problem, but we have sails or kings or tunas getting eaten within the first 15 to 30 seconds of a fight. That's a problem. Those fish should be able to outrun and outmaneuver those fish in their natural environment. And we're not talking about using 20 pounds of drag. We're talking about a couple pounds. Well, I got a letter the other day from a guy that fishes all the time here. And he said, remarkable. They had 8 sails eaten this year. And one of the sails was eaten before it ate his kite bait. That's as natural as it gets. And really the sandbars and bull sharks should not be a natural predator to a healthy sailfish. The only one should be, as we've discussed, would be a mako shark. This is the only one that technically should be able to catch them based on science.
That's a different animal altogether.
Different animal, right.
That's not even a shark. That thing is like a bionic creature.
It's a missile.
Yeah, that's it. That thing right there is it's probably the meanest shark of all of them.
I get it. But the reality of it is it could be the meanest shark of all. How many interactions do we have? I mean, it's we're having sandbar sharks. I made an analogy the other day. They're like a sea bass. You got a 12-inch sea bass that eats an 8-inch greenie. We're having 70-pound sandbars that are 5 foot long trying to attack 7-foot sailfish. And then if they get them in a position where they can corner them, now all of a sudden it's pack feeding. And you get south of Stewart, Juneau Ledge, south, the bull sharks are obviously the biggest problem from what I saw this winter fishing a live bait series for the first time and practice fishing. And by talking to everybody, obviously the bull sharks are a huge problem. And how do you quell that except for some better management of the numbers? And the only way to do that is commercially, because it's the only way to keep track of it and do it in a scientific way that's beneficial to everybody involved.
So I got a couple of things before we continue, because we got a lot of comments coming in here. Number one, it's Captain Bouncer Smith is watching. He says, last week I saw a comment that DR has one of the lowest shark populations, while the Southeast United States has one of the healthiest shark populations in the world. That's a comment by Captain Bouncer Smith. But there's one comment, and I have a feeling one, if not both of you guys know this person, but I think it's a very good statement. So I want to make sure I bring it up. It's Chad Miner. He says, how can we collectively as a group bring shark meat to more restaurants, bring awareness that shark does in fact taste excellent, make it more popular on the menu. I would say most fishermen don't even realize the quality of meat if properly taken care of. Most importantly, desensitizing popular misunderstandings and bring mainstream understandings on our eastern seaboard shark populations.
I think we're trying to do that right now. Let me just jump in. Sorry, Thomas, but I think the first step is to create awareness of, one, that the people that are involved that are saying there's a problem are not looking to wipe out everything. We're not looking to kill every species of shark. We have nuisance sharks in nuisance areas that need to be controlled for many, many reasons, because they're making other regulated fish and that management unsustainable. Secondarily, the negative stuff that's out there because of the shark finning and the environmental stuff and the stuff that Thomas and other shark fishermen have had to deal with that's compounded a problem with the market needs to be curbed. I think that's a second problem that you attack after raising awareness of what the real problem is, and that we're not out there to kill everything. I mean, you have to get people on your side first, that you're not here to kill everything in the world and wipe out the shark ocean and the shark population. I mean, I think we all know as people that spend time on the water that sharks are important to the ecosystem, but they are negative if they're imbalanced in the ecosystem. And I think that's why there's such a big agreement.
You know what? I don't think that's just sharks. I think that's any animal. Once there's an imbalance, that's where there's a problem.
Jewfish is another good example. A highly regulated species. You know, we're going to wrecks now that are populated by snook this time of year, and guys that are trying to snapper fish are catching snook that are breeding and spawning on the wrecks in the summertime offshore in 50 foot, and they're losing all these snook that are eating them like Tic Tacs to Goliath groupers. So that, there's another issue. I don't have the mental capacity to tackle both of those issues at one time. So.
But here's the biggest.
The red snapper overregulated.
Well, let's not talk about the overregulation. I think what it needs to be talked about is right now, when you start talking about overregulation or any of this, you're talking about a small group of people that are doing the talking. And right now, the majority of the people that are talking are the people that are trying to heavily on the conservation side of the shark. And again, being a fisherman, being a sportsman, I have this conversation every day. I was just having this conversation yesterday. I was in Ocean City, Maryland yesterday. And one of the things that I always talk about is that the people that use the resource are usually the ones that are trying to protect it the most. 100%. Meaning the guys that are out there bill fishing, blue marlin fishing, they're the ones that are going to the Billfish Foundation and trying to conserve the resource. When you look at people who are duck hunting, they're the ones that are members of Ducks Unlimited. They're the ones that are taking care of the resource the best. Same thing with deer hunters. And us as fishermen, we are usually the most responsible of the resource. Amen. Now, unfortunately, this particular fishery is not being represented by the guys and gals that are out there using the resource. Right now, it's an unbalanced conservation or an unbalanced talking point where guys like us, we are not talking. And Pat, what you have done is brought this to the forefront. You and guys like Doug Coven, and then you're bringing in guys like Thomas who are out there and seeing this and saying, hey, listen, there is a market for this. We're not looking to just wipe this out and take an animal's life away. It's
Right.
just like anything else. If you're going snapper fishing, if you're going king fishing, it's a manageable species. What that management is, I don't want to get into that because that's not what we're trying to talk about right now. What we're trying to talk about is us as fishermen, we need to take the 2 minutes out of our schedule and talk about, hey, there's a big group of people that are out there talking about protecting these sharks. And hey, man, I'm all for it. But at the same time, us as fishermen need to talk about these interactions that are happening. And I don't want it to become a he said, she said, or F you or F you back. I want it to be a conversation where, hey, we are being impacted by this situation. Let's talk about it appropriately. And it looks like proper power management is being done at the Price household very well. Glad to see you plug your computer or phone in. It's very important. I get it. Proper power management is huge. But this right here, and again, I've been rambling for about 3 minutes here, but I have to go through some of these people that have said a couple of things. Jason Gibson had a sandbar eat a lionfish right off his pole spear. Corey says, again, this is West Coast, but this is again, and when I say West Coast of the United States, fall salmon run is done. That's when the thresher sharks come into our bay. Let's see. Peter Chabanzai has said, well said, Captain Price. Also spot on. Does anybody on here know how to fish for leopard sharks? I'd like to know some information on how to fish for leopard sharks. That's my question. Can somebody help? Peter Chabanzai, bigger problem with what Captain Pat said before, the public knowledge of the legal shark fishery in the United States. That's Amen. A big thing. It's what's legal, because a lot of people think it's just completely illegal. So that's something that we need to talk about. Ezra, but you get people that are not fishing for a living and are just doing it for recreation, which brings the people who don't care. These are the people who overfish a species. Again, Ezra, when you talk about that, I use this term because we use it a lot. The weekend warrior guy. There's a lot more weekend warrior guys out there than there are guys that make a living for it. And those are the guys. And again, I'm on the HMS panel, and I've been a part of a lot of these conversations, these shark conversations. And a thing that I bring up a lot is a lot of things aren't a recreational problem. They are an education problem.
Amen.
People want to regulate. And truth be told, a lot of it is education. And this goes from all spectrums, not just what you guys do, Tom, but a lot of the guys on the weekend warrior side. And Pat, I'm cutting you out of this for a reason, because you're a charter guy. You're out there. Guys like me that have done it for a living all our lives, just like you, we know what a lot of these things are. But these weekend warriors, guys that fish 2 days a month, maybe only fish 2 days a month for a summer season, and they're not educated on all the species of sharks. They see a brown shark, and that's what they call it, a brown shark. But how many brown sharks are there? There's hundreds of them. And people are not educated in what they all are. And sometimes they're doing damage and they don't realize it because they're not educated. And Tom, I don't know what you guys go through for education for your license, but I know most commercial fishermen have to go to unbelievable amount of education courses on how to handle sharks. handle sharks, even if they're going to release them, there is an unbelievable amount of education you guys have to go through, so that when you're dealing with a shark, they're handled with properly. Now you get into the level of what you and I do, Patrick, that we're out there all these days and we handle sharks properly because number one, we have to deal with safety of the people on our boats.
Sure.
Number two, if we can't do nothing with the sharks, we let them go. But there's a lot more, and I'm just using Florida as an example. We have an unbelievable amount of recreational fishermen here in the state of Florida, and the recreational dollars in the state of Florida, and they're increasing. I want you to know this year, but I'm going with last year's numbers. It's a $119 billion a year industry, recreational fishing. And a lot of those people do not have a lot of encounters with sharks. So they don't have the proper encounters with them. So we need to educate them on how to do it. So that's one thing. Now, the other thing, we're growing fishermen crazy on this COVID issue that we're having right now. And I don't want to even call it a problem. It's just an issue. We're dealing with it. But since COVID has kicked in, and because of all the work I do in social media and talking to people and the number of people I talk to on a daily basis, they have record, and this is record. We have increased recreational fishermen by 9 million fishermen nationwide on the books. Not on the books is probably an extra 2 to 3 million fishermen nationwide. Wow. So these are people that are coming into our industry, and we need to make sure we educate them properly on all facets. But what we're talking about here is shark fishing. We're talking about dealing with sharks. So, and Peter brings up a very good point. We should get Rusty on here. You've talked to Rusty. I know Rusty because he's on the HMS panel with me. And again, this podcast that I do is about fishing and outdoors. It's not about recreational fishing. It's not about commercial fishing. It's about what we do as fishermen and what we do as outdoorsmen. Whether we make our living off of it or not, there's always a story to be told. So that is a very, very big deal. And I know probably of all of us, Pat, you come in contact with a lot of people that you get the opportunity to, number one, you can educate and you can show them the problem on a face-to-face level as you're getting your clients, and hopefully not losing clients to this problem with shark interaction.
That's a big fear. I mean, it's a big fear. I mean, the reality of it is, when I've discussed it with guys that charter fish, look, you got somebody that spends their summer vacation or whatever it is, they saved up this money to go fishing, and it's their big trip of the year, and they want to fill the freezer. 70% of my business is bottom fishing. And you touched on something earlier, regarding losses of fish. And the reality of it is, and maybe it's a little selfish for getting involved like this, but I want to protect the fish that I fish for that are already managed. I mean, we're losing them. I'm losing them on my boat at what I feel like is an alarming rate. And you times that up and down the coast by commercial, recreational, and other charter boats, especially for bottom fish. And these are fish that we hook. Let's not talk about the ones that we release after we catch that swim down slowly, or the sails that we release after a 30-minute fight, or that we take the extra 5 minutes to put a tag in. There's a lot of fish that disappear that we can't put a number on, just because the shark population is now tuned into the boat, and there are more sharks, it seems like, competing for the food source. And we've had this argument. People have said, well, the fisherman has diminished the food source. I can't go along with that argument because, perfect example today. I mean, we had I don't know. We caught I think it was 9 or 11 muttons, and we kept 4, and we had 7 others that we lost to sharks. I would have to look at my notes again, but the mutton fishing was really good up and down the coast. The cobia fishing is great certain times of the year. All these different species are excellent during certain times of the year, and the shark depredation has been a compounding problem that just highly needs to be addressed. I think the biggest thing that we can do with educating that I've learned about in the last 3 or 4 weeks having met Thomas is how his gear is fished as a longliner, because longliners have a pretty big negative connotation, especially on the recreational and the sport fishing side with bycatch. Everybody needs to know about his bycatch and his research and the science behind what he does and what he catches and what he keeps. And the reality of it is the bycatch is next to zero, and this very target specific fishing. And I think a lot of people probably have a misconception of that, and maybe an education from him on that I gained, and I think a lot of us have gained that didn't know recently would help. It helped me a lot, and that's part of why I'm pushing for this, because I think we're all stewards of the sea, if that's the proper term.
That's
Absolutely.
actually the
perfect
correct
term.
And
yes.
and the reality of it is, this is something that can only help the situation. It's not going to hinder other fisheries. It's going to benefit them, and it's going to give guys jobs and make money and help them out. The guys that are commercial fishing, it's going to help anybody that commercial fishes that harvests anything else, because they'll have less depredation. It'll help the recreational angler on his once a month trip, and it'll help all the charter boats up and down the coast for what they can, what they can catch, and to ensure that the clients will come back. I mean, to me, it's a win-win-win situation, and I don't know how else to say it.
I think a lot of it is timing. There is Patrick Price sat there and muted. I saw that. I can see that pop up on the screen. I saw that. No. It's all good. Who is?
The boss was calling.
It's okay. My boss, one of the reasons I was late to getting on here was my dog. I landed from Ocean City at 12:30. I've been on phone calls since 1 o'clock. I was on a 2-hour phone call with Capt earlier. And from there, I went, that was from 1 to 3. Then I had a 3:30 meeting, a 4 o'clock, a 4:30 meeting, and then now this one. So I've been nonstop, but I had to take the dog out because she was starting to bark, and I didn't want her to bark on the podcast. So there was, hold on, I see a lot of different, and we're doing a lot of repetition here about information and education. And I got a couple of thoughts that I'd like to talk to you guys about off camera, not on. But there's so much that, and I'm glad it's coming to the forefront. Again, people need to know what's going on. They need to know, number one, what's going on before it gets out of control. And we're already starting to get to that point. And my point before about timing is a very critical issue, because if you pull a trigger too early, it looks bad on us. If you let it wait too long, then we lose a lot of charter fishermen like you, or even recreational fishermen, because you're losing so many fish. So it's a time sensitive issue. So I think the fact that you're bringing the information out there to everybody so they can start looking at it now before we start losing fishermen and we start losing economic dollars. And I just want to say, I'll get to your text message here in a second. I don't want to read that on air. For the people that watch my show, and a lot of them are people that we all know, they know how to get their questions to the top, and they text me. And it comes across the screen, and I can only read like 2 sentences. And if it's something that I think is really, really big, then I'll answer it. If not, I'll answer it after we're off air. So, and unlike a lot of podcasts, this is one that it can get scary sometimes because it's live. But I also like it because it's not just my questions. I want the people, the fishermen that are out there that are watching. We've got a lot of people that are watching across all these pages, and this is a great topic. So I want people to be able to chime in.
I love bring awareness to what I do. Anybody that has a question or wants to know, I am completely transparent. I try to bring awareness to what I do, how I do it for anybody that wants to know, because that's a big part of the problem that we face as longliners is misinformation and just the lack of knowledge people think. And everybody's version of a long line is a pelagic long line and the interaction with marine mammals and all the pelagic fish that we don't want to be caught by longline gear is a big misconception of what I do. And I'm completely transparent. I will answer questions. You can go to my personal Facebook page and watch live videos of what I do. And I encourage any kind of awareness that I can bring to anything, any part of this, anything.
I think one of the things, Fly, that some people were bringing up, on our page that struck me is, well, why don't you go kill them yourself as a recreational or a charter captain? Why you're allowed to kill 2 bull sharks a day? I mean, obviously the sandbars are protected, but the reality of it is, I don't know anybody here aside from somebody like Thomas that makes a living doing what he was doing under regulation that wants to kill a shark for any reason, right?
Finish your statement. There's something very important that a lot of people may not know. Go ahead.
My point is that if we didn't have a care about things, and we didn't care about the shark itself, we didn't care about the ecosystem, we didn't care about everything, and we just wanted to go kill 2 bull sharks a day, which is how I understand the regulation, I can go do that every day. Does that benefit me in any way? Without the resource being used? Look, we try very, very hard not to kill anything except for maybe a bait fish that doesn't get used throughout the course of the day or doesn't get consumed for food by myself or my charter. Nobody that I know on a good level, like we said, the steward of the sea is about wasting a resource. And sharks are resourceful. Right now, I think there's a huge opinion up and down the coast that they're mismanaged and it's created an imbalance. So, there's a lot of people that said, well, go kill 2 or go have a shark tournament or go do all this. There's a lot of logistics involved with that. What are you going to do with 2 bull sharks as a recreational angler every time you go fishing? First of all, killing it's going to take extra gear and processing it. Are you going to be able to do anything with the meat? We can't sell them, obviously. There's just so many reasons not to kill them.
You can't
and a big mean bull shark ain't no fun to mess with on the boat.
You can't sell them and you can't give them away either.
Correct.
That's a very important thing.
That's why we're having a stumbling block with the tournament, because even with trying to donate the meat right now, like the White Marlin Open or some of these other tournaments do that donate to food banks, there's logistics and problems involved with donating meat that's highly regulated like that, like a shark. So, I mean, it's a hiccup and nobody wants to deal with it. So, from the negative aspect of it.
So on that note, we're going to have to start wrapping up here. Is there anything that you guys feel that we've missed? Is there anything else that you guys would like to add?
I think if Thomas can just say how his gear fishes and, how target specific it is and the lack of bycatch they have in a couple of minutes is very important to the education part. I mean, I know we've touched on that, but he hasn't really got to explain it. I just think that's a very important thing for anybody that fishes that's concerned about long lining or the harvest of sharks to understand.
Absolutely. I can my gear is like Pat says, is so target specific, and it's It's big, it's bulky geared, it's very well seen by any kind of a marine mammal or smaller bottom fish or anything like that. That when I put a shark bait on the bottom, the bait's usually over a pound. It's not something that's just going to get nibbled on. And my hooks, something that was on our other webcast, my hooks are as big as your hand. It's not something that's interacted with anything else. I don't set on any kind of hard bottom or any kind of artificial reef or any place where there should be anything other than the occasional Goliath grouper or the occasional cobia. And that's about all I ever have interaction with. And even that's very minimal. When I'm targeting sharks are about 99% of what I catch. The ones that aren't regulated, we obviously keep. The ones that don't have market value are return tagged and returned back. Just because, like you guys are saying about killing 2 bull sharks, we don't waste a resource. I try to find a avenue for every part of the shark. I consider myself a steward of my industry in particular. I have a 13-year-old son that stands on the dock with me every day that he doesn't have to be in school and gets upset when he can't be there because he wants to be a shark fisherman. My wife and I are both multi-generational commercial fishermen, commercial fishing family. We live this life. It's not just something that we do. And for anybody to think that that's just what I want to do is go out and catch them all is lack of information. I mean, I try to preserve the species the best we can. And like I said, anybody that wants to know, you can go to my page, friend request me, message me, anything anybody wants to know, man. I'm completely transparent and an open book.
I think if we wanted to wipe stuff out, we would put ourselves out of business. That's probably the best thing that people can take away from it. If you wanted to overfish everything and go, you wouldn't be here and your kid wouldn't do it. Next generation.
Yep.
I don't have a very good retirement program as a charter fisherman. Maybe some other guys do. So I'm probably going to do this hopefully for the next 20 or 30 years. I got to protect my resources.
Amen.
So on that note, if anybody is catching this podcast a little late, you can watch it again here on Facebook. It's going to live here indefinitely. It's also been stored on YouTube. So if any one of you guys want to grab it and share it as a link very easily, you're welcome to. Within 2 or 3 days, we're going to pull all the audio out and we're going to have the podcast on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, Pandora. Anybody who has Alexis, you can pull it up on Alexis or Alexa, whatever it's called, iTunes. So all this stuff is going to be out there. So on that note, I want to say thank you to you 2 guys for joining me. Don't hang up yet. I want you guys, there's a couple things I want to bring up to you. But I want to thank everybody that's joined us again. Hit that share button. Let everybody know I've seen a lot of shares today. But also, if you got any questions for these guys, if I can have you at your convenience, not anytime, but I know on my one Facebook page on Fly Navarro, there was a lot of questions for you guys and just information if you guys want to jump in there and send people to wherever your Facebook page or any of this stuff, you can jump on there. But other than that, I just want to say thank you for joining us, everybody. And to all you cool cats and kittens, that's right, Carol Baskin. You know it. I want to thank you, and we will be joining you live. I know Peter Chabanzai said I should get Rusty on here, and maybe we should line up Rusty to come up here and talk. But anyway, thank you so much, everybody. And I appreciate this a little later than we normally do the podcast, but I'm very, very happy with the numbers. And we will be checking you guys out later. So peace out, y'all.
Thanks, Fly.
Check you guys later.